As they say, Wes, when you're right, you're always right. At least I have been right with the intentions of DC Comics. We're talking about wanting to replace, at least temporarily, the Justice League with their newer creations, and we finally have confirmation who the Justice League, the new Justice League, that are going to go in and save the old Justice League in Dark Crisis. Obviously, the big event coming up from Josh Williamson. We have a couple of other reveals on some covers that do not portend, in my opinion, good things for the event, but definitely want to hear from you guys and the way that you're responding to these covers that have been released and the information that we do have. So I'll cover it here. I'll give you my thoughts, and I definitely want to hear from you. DC provided CBR.com with an exclusive look at the variant covers for Dark Crisis #1, the first issue of the publisher's upcoming event from writer Joshua Williamson, artist Daniel Sampry, colorist Alejandro Sanchez, and letterer Tom Napolitano. The variant covers for Dark Crisis #1 confirm just who will take over for the Justice League following the death of so many members. Mahmoud Asrar's team variant in particular shows a good look at the group, which consists of John Kent Superman, Yara Flor Wonder Woman, Jojo Mullins fine ass as Green Lantern, Jackson Hyde as Aquaman, and Tim Fox Batman. As I said, there's no shock here. I literally nailed this over a year ago. I said, it is clear what DC Comics are doing. They are setting up the pieces in place so they can have these better replacements for the classic heroes. I called it once again when DC Comics Dark Crisis was announced. I said that is exactly the intent of the entire event. And just like 7 years ago with Marvel Comics, DC are desperate to replace their classic heroes with newer, more acceptable versions. They are desperate for you and I to accept these changes that they are pushing on us. Recently, with the comic book readership, it has essentially failed pretty much every single time. Now, Joshua Williamson is a good writer, but he's not an exceptional writer. He does write a dud here and there, and he's being asked essentially to make chicken salad out of chicken shit. Is he capable of that? I don't know. Only time will tell. This could actually be a good event, even if what they're trying to do is something that I don't think readers really want to receive. They are really putting Joshua Williamson and Daniel Sampry, the two big creators behind the event, in a bad position, an unenviable position. This is literally the biggest thing Joshua Williamson has ever done to this date in comic books. This is even bigger for Daniel Sampry. He's never done anything like this. And they are saddling them with a concept that has failed time and time again. Will they rise to the occasion? Will they be able to take DC Comics lemons and turn them into lemonade? That will be the big question that is answered. But they are running against the wind, like literally. Comic book readers are very hesitant to these kind of changes and these mantle swaps because it's become essentially a plague on DC and Marvel Comics. And if you go outside of comic books in other forms of entertainment, and people are absolutely shutting down to these changes. This is a huge opportunity for Joshua Williamson to really establish himself. If he can take this and turn it into something that people don't hate, that they actually like, and we see rising sales as it goes along, he'll be a superstar. But it could also destroy his career. And I don't think a lot of people even know who Daniel Sampry, the artist, is, which I do think is a bit of a travesty. He's actually a phenomenal artist, and it should look good. The weight of the world, at least the comic book world, is on their shoulders, and DC Comics are putting them in a terrible position, in my opinion. Announced last month, Dark Crisis spins out of the upcoming Death of Justice League in issue 75. In that issue, the team, which consists of Clark Kent Superman, Bruce Wayne Batman, Diana Prince Wonder Woman, John Stewart Green Lantern, John Johns Martian Manhunter, Kendra Saunders Hawkgirl, Arthur Curry Aquaman, Oliver Queen Green Arrow, Dinah Laurel Lance Black Canary, and Zatanna will go up against the Dead Army. However, only one will survive to tell the tale. Going into this, my money was actually on Naomi being the one to survive the encounter. That's clear they're not going to kill off Naomi. It kind of falls in line with a lot of what they're doing. But I do see that her name is absolutely not on the list of characters that are apparently going on this mission. She's currently part of the Justice League. Apparently, she will not be for issue 75. I guess that takes her off the table. Or are CBR here guessing as to who will go along for the quest and who will be eligible to die? If I had to guess on the character that is actually going to live, that's probably going to tuck tail and run and maybe abandon, their teammates, I would say maybe Zatanna. She certainly would have the ability to move herself from one plane to another and perhaps escape. maybe Martian Manhunter. It's difficult to predict. Like I said, I thought it was going to be Naomi. Apparently Naomi's off the board. I'll be surprised if it's not Barry Allen himself, maybe joining the mission, even though he's on Justice League Incarnate and not the real Justice League, and then Wally West kind of left. I don't know. We shall see. DC Comics do have a huge problem with all these deaths in the fact that none of them are going to really translate outside of Justice League as far as we know. From what I can tell and from what people have told me, if you don't like that Superman died in Justice League, go read Action Comics. If you don't like that Bruce Wayne died in Justice League, go read the 50,000 Batman comics starring Bruce Wayne, because they're still going to be there. If you don't like Diana Prince dying in Justice League, just go read Wonder Woman, because she'll still be there. Which kind of makes it all feel like none of this really matters. And the cynical side of me, and I imagine there are some other cynics out there that are not impressed with the current state of DC Comics and what they're delivering, is that this is just an enormous cash grab and an opportunity to make more empty promises that DC Comics are finally going to listen to you and they're going to deliver the comic books that you always wanted. And they know what you want. They knew they lost their way, and now they're going to make it right. Of course, they're going to do that by shoving a bunch of characters that no one asked for, calling them the Justice League, and giving you that, even though that's not what you wanted in the first place. It's just so hard to trust DC Comics right now. That's kind of how I feel about it. Speaking about the event, in its original announcement, Williamson said Dark Crisis was an event about legacy. However, he noted that Dark Crisis isn't about reboots, retcons, or rewriting time and space. At its core, it's about the characters and relationships that we've seen built over DC's great history. I do not believe most of that. I certainly believe that we will be getting some significant retcons within this story. Hopefully, they'll be retconning the Omniverse out of existence. That will probably be a good change. Now, as far as celebrating the legacy and the history of DC Comics by replacing Superman with John Kent, Bruce Wayne with Jace Fox, Arthur Curry with Jackson Hyde, Diana Prince with Yara Flor, and Hal Jordan with JoJo Mullen's fine ass, I say no. I call balderdash on that one. There are plenty of heroes within the DC Comics universe that would actually make a lot more sense and would truly celebrate the legacy of these characters. If you wanted to celebrate Superman, John Kent makes sense. But certainly people have had a longer relationship, and these characters have a lot more history if you're talking about Supergirl or Connor Kent. Connor Kent is a character that could use some TLC. That character deserves the ultimate redemption, and they just kind of leave him out there in limbo and dick him around all the time. As far as Batman, Jace Fox has been Batman for like 2 minutes. Dick Grayson has already been a Batman established within DC Comics history. He's literally been around as long as Bruce Wayne. You've got Tim Drake out there. You've got Jason Todd. Hell, you got Stephanie Brown. There are so many characters for being a loner and a grouch. No hero has more other heroes associated with them directly than Batman. The one that's not is Jace Fox, is the one that's going to replace it. That makes sense if you want to celebrate the legacy of Batman in DC Comics. Not really. As far as Wonder Woman, there are plenty of characters out there that have been associated with Wonder Woman for decades. Donna Troy has been dumped on for a very long time now. You're trying to make Nubia a big deal. Those are two characters that have been in DC continuity and would certainly be a part of celebrating the legacy, not only of Wonder Woman. You throw Donna Troy in there, you're starting to celebrate the legacy of the Titans. That's another reason that you might want Dick Grayson in there. As far as Aquaman, Garth, Mira, I mean, what's wrong with Garth? I think, is he an alcoholic now? That's the last time I saw him. Two characters that have much more history with Aquaman in the DC universe right there. And then finally, Green Lantern is absolutely ridiculous that JoJo would be in there. JoJo Mullen's fine ass. I don't care how fine she is. John Stewart, Guy Gardner, Kyle Rayner, Kilowog, Tomar 2, Jessica Cruz, Simon Baz, hell, Sinestro would all be better choices and more appropriate if you truly wanted to celebrate the legacy of DC Comics. And there's nobody that can tell me any different, and I guarantee you a vast majority of the actual readers feel the same way. Do I think that some of these characters will play a part? Yes, we saw another cover, and it certainly shows that a lot of the Batman-associated characters will be teaming up. I thought maybe they would get the old Titans together and they could do another side adventure or something to go back up them real Justice Leaguers, because Dick Grayson ain't got what it takes. Wally West ain't got what it takes to be a Justice Leaguer anymore. there are plenty of ways that you could celebrate the legacy of DC. I just don't see this lineup being one of them. I hope Joshua Williamson absolutely makes me eat these words, proves me wrong, and I have to come in here and I have to tell every single one of you that I was wrong, that he was right, and he delivered the promise of what he's trying to sell here, because I don't think he can do it. I don't think that you can celebrate the legacy of DC Comics and what these characters have meant with the roster that they've decided are the replacement Justice League. There is another cover out there that shows Darkseid with Doomsday on a chain. It's not clear at this time how the cover may or may not reflect the events of Dark Crisis #1. However, it does bring together two of Clark Kent, Superman's deadliest enemies, while implying the ruler of Apocalypse has control over Doomsday. Doomsday is one of Superman's deadliest villains. It actually succeeds at killing the hero during the Death of Superman event in the 90s. Darkseid is a member of the New Gods and seeks to conquer the entirety of the multiverse. To accomplish his goals, Darkseid is generally shown as looking for the anti-life equation, which strips free will from its victims. I truly hope that this is just supposed to be a cool design to sell a comic book and not a preview of an actual plot point within the story. This has the Batman Who Laughs level of stupid written all over it. Weird, stupid fanfic that you're throwing in there. We have literally seen these two characters fight before, and it wasn't a contest. Doomsday made a fool out of Darkseid, which I don't entirely agree with, but it certainly did play up and show the absolute threat that Doomsday represents when he comes into the DC universe. I do believe there's been a couple of times maybe where Doomsday was somewhat controlled. I just hope that this really isn't a part of the story. I get that you want to have like this cool image that'll be like, oh man, that's so metal. I came in this for the metalness of the event. You know, we already got two of those events. I am completely burnt out on metal DC. I don't need to see Darkseid basically taking Doomsday as his new pet and keeping him on a leash. It's stupid. If you're going to have Doomsday in there, he should be the ultimate wild card that is absolutely going berserker on everybody, and everybody should be scared of that character. That's the type of threat that Doomsday represents, and he certainly shouldn't be under anyone's control and be being kept on a leash. Those are my thoughts. I know some people are going to be like, West, you just don't like fun. I just think we have different definitions of fun. I hate this kind of stuff. It's like a bunch of 7-year-olds were at the lunch table trading slices of pizza. And they're like, you know what would be cool? The coolest villain, the coolest thing you do at DC Comics? What if Darkseid had Doomsday as his attack dog? Like, oh man, that's so dope. I want to trade you my cheeseburger for your dessert. And that's how the conversation went. And somehow it gets turned into a comic book. That's how I imagine these things go. Those are the details. They have confirmed the new Justice League. It's John Kent. It's Jace Fox. It's Yara Flor. It's Jackson Hyde. It's Jojo Mullen's fine ass. I called it. I literally put all of these characters onto a thumbnail and said, this is going to be your new Justice League. And some people said, Wes, you are a fool. But I have been proven right. Thank you very much, DC Comics. You weren't holding your cards that close to the vest. And I was able to see right through it. It wasn't actually that long ago that DC Comics came out guns blazing with another Crisis event. It was called Dark Knights of Death Metal. Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo. Perch and I actually ran down the entire event. We talked about what we liked, what we didn't like, and things that could have improved. If you haven't seen this video and you want a reminder of the last time DC Comics did an actual Crisis and how it went, definitely check this video. Perch and I have a pretty damn good conversation about it.